We're moving on to Cleveland. We'll take a look at who was at the Ravens practice today. We'll go over a roster move that they made. Jadeveon Clowney visiting the Cowboys. Jeudy taking a shot at the Ravens secondary. We also hear from John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, and Kyle Van Noy. All that and more in this episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Thank you guys so much for 13,000 subscribers, man. This channel is growing so fast, and it's all you guys. I'm just here showing up, talking about a team I love and making cool videos, and you guys are running it up, man. I appreciate your support so much. And it means the world, genuinely means the world. Everybody commenting and liking and subscribing, it means so much, man. I'm sorry I haven't been that involved in the comments the last couple of videos. I think there's like 700-800 comments in the last two videos. It's like a little overwhelming for me to like sit there and try to scroll through all those, but I love you all. I appreciate you guys. And we're moving on to Cleveland. So let's get into who was at practice. Everybody was there today besides Nnamdi Madubuike, who Harbaugh said is not dealing with anything serious and should be back tomorrow. Pat Ricard is still out with the calf injury and likely is still out with the foot injury, although he was on a side field again working out. The Ravens also made a roster move on the practice squad. They signed wide receiver Cornelius Johnson and they cut Malik Ham. And in some overall NFL news that kind of relates to the Ravens, Jadeveon Clowney is visiting the Cowboys today, so we'll see what that leads to, if anything. I know a lot of fans still want Clowney to sign with the Ravens. I'm surprised that he hasn't signed anywhere. We'll see. I'd be open to a Clowney reunion for sure, but he's visiting with the Cowboys today, so we'll see how that works out. One thing that I saw today that really turned my attention to the Browns this week and got me motivated and energized to play the Browns this Sunday and just get over that Buffalo meltdown is when Jeudy was asked if the Ravens secondary presents any challenges at all. And this is what he said.
Jerry, Baltimore secondary, a lot of notable names back there. Just what are the challenges that group presents to you guys as receiving?
No challenges.
How about the fact that you guys are 10.5-point underdogs for this game, and even though you guys really outplayed the Bengals except for that 1 point.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the fact that you're going into Baltimore as 10.5-point underdogs?
That's disrespectful. But at the end of the day, if they think Baltimore could beat us like that, we're gonna have to prove them another thing. We got to do our job and do our best to win the game.
Listen, I know there's probably not a ton of respect around the league and other offensive guys are competitive. Jerry Jeudy probably thinks he can beat any corner in the game, right? Like that's just the mentality you have as a football player. But I also wanted to kind of use this to point out that like the Ravens don't have a bad team and the secondary is not a bad secondary. And they do present challenges. And we're going to see those challenges that they present this week because we're not playing a Josh Allen. And I love Joe Flacco, man. And I'm not saying Joe Flacco can't get some throws out on us and make some plays and score some points. I don't think the secondary is fully where it needs to be by any means. But a lot of that game in Buffalo was Josh Allen extending plays and our pass rush kind of getting neutralized, not even really being that much of a factor because Josh Allen is so good at stepping up and rolling out and finding the lane to get into to make a play downfield, also extremely decisive with the ball. Flacco can be that, but he's not going to be moving around as much, and I think our pass rush comes to life. I think our secondary, therefore, comes to life a lot more this week. I think you see a huge bounce-back week from the Ravens' defense this week, and it's just a little disrespectful to be like, the Ravens' secondary presents zero challenges. I just think that that's a narrative that needs debunked quick, man, and the fact that we can't stop the elite teams is definitely a conversation to be had. We struggle, especially late in games, fourth quarters against really, really good quarterbacks, really good passing offenses. I think Josh Allen, I think Mahomes, these guys can torch us through the air. Joe Burrow and the Bengals with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they can torch this secondary still right now. I believe that. I don't think Joe Flacco on the Browns throwing to Jerry Jeudy And the tight ends, Njoku and Fannin, and they don't present the same challenges to me at all. And I just think that it's disrespectful to be like, the Ravens defense, the Ravens secondary presents 0 challenges. I understand what he's saying, but that should be hung up as a bulletin board for the secondary. Like, nobody respects you. You know what I mean? Go out there and prove them wrong, because the Ravens have way too much talent to not go out on the field and put together a great defensive game. And, obviously we'll believe it when we see it. I totally get there's a lot of doubters right now. And I'm still doubting in big moments against really, really good teams. Yeah, I've also struggled with keeping confidence even right now. But I don't think that our secondary going up against Cleveland doesn't present any challenges. That's crazy. We definitely present challenges all over. Week 2 of the NFL season is here. Football is back, baby. And this year, I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook to bring you guys an incredible offer. New customers bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. That's right. Just bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Just make sure when you're signing up to use my promo code TFR. There's also a huge Cleveland media war kind of starting. They're all offended that the Ravens are doing their 30th anniversary festivities on the game of Cleveland, and the players are commenting and everybody's kind of talking about how big deal that is. I don't think it's a big deal. Maybe us Ravens fans aren't going to think it's a big deal, but I'm sure the Browns fans are way more offended about how the team history went down. We took their roster, moved to Baltimore, won a Super Bowl shortly after, and they're still not happy. They haven't had a lot of success. So I get why they would want to use this as motivation and think it's a slap in the face. And from a Cleveland perspective, I totally understand that. From a Baltimore perspective, it is what it is, man. Just go out there and rebound and win the game. One cool story, though, is Joe Flacco returning to M&T Bank Stadium to play his former team on the Browns. I think that's a really cool story, man. As soon as he got named the starter, I was excited for this week, excited for that moment. Obviously, I hope we go out there and dominate the Browns. I'm not rooting for Flacco at all, but I do love Flacco and love all the memories that he gave us Ravens fans for a long time. And I just think it's really cool, man. I hope the fans embrace Flacco and give him an ovation, and I think that that's a cool moment. He's probably going to be locked in, though. You might get your best version of Flacco. I just don't think that's going to be enough against this defense that is going to present challenges to the Cleveland Browns offense. I promise. That's not the Buffalo Bills. That's not Josh Allen. So it is a very, very different game than the one we just had. But it is a cool story, and Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson were both asked multiple questions today about their time together and just how excited they are to get back on the field and face each other in Baltimore.
Division rival, and how many times he done face those guys, and seeing my guy in the meeting rooms my rookie year, yeah, it'll definitely be different. Just from the rivalry, it'll be different, yeah.
What do you remember about that year with him back then? Just anything
with Flack?
Yeah.
Just him being in the meeting room and how cool he was with things he would say, and how funny he was. I don't know if people know, but Flack's funny, dog. And he used to have me rolling, man, as a rookie, bro. I used to be like, man, this man just say stuff so nonchalant, and it's great, man. He a great person to be around.
Is there anybody that's surprised at 40 years old that he's still?
No. My rookie year, I seen Flack on this field right here throw a 80-yard bomb, crossbody, to Chris Moore. It was ridiculous. So for me to see that back then, no doubt in my mind.
From being with him, did you ever expect Lamar Jackson's star to rise like it has at this point?
Well, I mean, it's such a tough question to answer about anybody. But I think he was able to show pretty early on what he was capable of. I mean, he came in the year I was there and won football games, and then right away the next year got off to an awesome start. So I think he very quickly was able to show who he is, and that's a testament to the work he's put in and just the type of athlete he is.
People talk a lot about you mentioned athleticism, and that's the stuff that people notice because it's the standout skill. But how much has he grown as a passer and a processor of defense?
Well, I think he's a good football player. So he sees the field in a certain way. And I think when you're able to do that, then you're able to get better at things and become who you want to be in all facets of the game. I think that's the important thing. He's out there playing football, and the way he sees the field is probably unique to himself, and that's why he's able to do all those things.
How much of a relationship do you still have with Lamar? Like, do you guys stay in touch at all? Or?
We don't stay in touch, but I mean, we saw each other a couple years ago. I mean, we were very, I think we put a smile on each other's faces, and I enjoyed being with him, and I'm kind of like that with pretty much everybody I've played with. It's not like that I keep directly in touch with them, but when we see each other, it'll be like, right back to 2018.
We heard from Zay Flowers today, who leads the NFL in receiving yards, by the way, which is pretty cool. But he talked about his focus on running straight, not cutting back as much, and just trying to get yards as quickly as possible and use his speed to get upfield.
I ain't cut back yesterday. I ain't cut back in the game, so that's a positive. I just kept running straight and just picked up more yards with what I could get.
I don't think Zay's stat line will be that dominant every single week. I think he's capable of that. I just think the volume will trickle elsewhere week to week. But regardless, Zay is an absolute weapon. He, was a healthy reminder of the difference that this offense, the challenges that they can present to other teams now that Zay's there, because we didn't have him in the Pittsburgh game at the end of the year, the playoff game last year, the Buffalo game that we lost. We didn't have Zay. So having Zay out there, just seeing his ability to separate. And I like the fact that he's not cutting back. That's always been kind of a knack. There's been so many plays where Zay could have probably got way more yards. There's also a couple plays where he did cut back and got more yards. So I know where he's coming from. At the end of the day, he's just trying to get as many yards as possible and make the best play. But I think the best play is what he's saying, is probably just get upfield, and he's quick and explosive and fast enough to still be a weapon doing that, and it seemed to pay off in week 1, man. So I'm excited for a dominant year from Zay, and not expecting that every single week, but regardless, he's out there, he's a weapon, he's going to be at least a disguise. If we do go elsewhere, there's no way the defense isn't completely locked in on what Zay's doing. So they might try and take him out the game as much as possible, but then that opens up a million other avenues for, Bateman or Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely when he gets back, the run game with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. There's so many other options. So love seeing that from Zay, and he had an incredible week 1. Getting back to the secondary a little bit, John Harbaugh spoke on Jaire Alexander and just the fact that he's not quite back to Jaire Alexander. He's not back to himself completely, but they're going to continue to give him opportunity. He's not missing practice right now, which I think is an incredible sign. And, he missed a month before last week, so he definitely looked rusty. And a lot of us are like, wow, we were shocked that we didn't get a higher version of Jaire because we heard so many good things throughout training camp, but then he missed a month. It's football. You can't just miss a bunch of time and then hurry up and get back and be your highest version of yourself. So hopefully Jaire does get back there soon. Harbaugh seems to have confidence in him, and he said that they're going to continue to give him opportunity until he gets back into form.
Just based on the clips and stuff, Jaire's been one of the guys getting hammered for how that fourth quarter went. How much of that do you feel like is just him just not being able to practice, a lot of the month leading up to that game? What do you kind of expect for this week 2?
No, I think that's fair, to look at that. This practice, it's a practice sport. Practice is important, especially that position just being exactly right. So, he and I have had that conversation. I recognize it. And the main thing right now is just to get him right, and he's healthy enough, but we got to get him right so he can go out there and play like Jaire Alexander, which fully expect him to do. And we'll just give him an opportunity to do that.
Kyle Van Noy also spoke to the media today and talked about him not having his best game, which I love the transparency. I also love the podcast that he's doing. And Marlon Humphrey's now doing a podcast too after the game. So we got a couple Ravens players starting their own podcast to vent their thoughts after the game. And I don't mind it. As long as it's not a distraction for them, I don't mind it, because I know if they're going there reading every comment, that can seep into your brain. It's You know, it's not the healthiest thing in the world to do, because you could have 300 positive comments, but one comment can stick with you. You know, that's just how it works. It's hard to tune everything out. So as long as they're not distracted by it, I think it's awesome that they're being as transparent as they are. And Van Noy spoke on how he said the pass rush is the reason that they lost the game. They weren't able to contain the pass rush lanes and keep Allen in the pocket and do what they wanted to do.
It goes back to controlling what your 1/11th job is. I think it starts with communication and then performance when you're doing that standpoint. I feel like we did okay at points in the game, but at the end result, it wasn't what we wanted, and we ended up losing. And, you know, that's a big reason why we lost, was the pass rush lanes weren't as tight and crisp as we needed it to be. The 2 times before, we felt like as a group we kept him in the pocket, and he didn't get out many times to make those down the field throws. And a couple times this last game he did. But honestly, like, I'm so ready for the Browns. Like, I'm not even thinking about that game. That's just something that we're focused on now going forward, is just worrying about the Browns. Honestly, like, that loss, it hurt, but we're already over it. We have to. Like, we have 16 other games to worry about, and this one's the next one, and all our attention and focus is on the Browns O-line and Joe Flacco and being able to stop the receivers and Njoku and the young guy. I'm sorry, I don't know his name yet, but he's number 44. He's a very, very good player. Sampson, the running back. I mean, they got some talent over there, and we're focused on them.
That's pretty much it from today. Still got a little knot in my stomach from Sunday night, but definitely, you know, hour by hour, day by day, just getting more excited for Cleveland in the next game. And that's how we got to be. You know, it's totally fair to point out the criticisms, you know, of the coaching and all that. But you also, in my opinion, unless you're just going to turn the TV off and not watch the rest of the season, you got to enjoy the next moment too. You know, it's a long season. It's 16 more games that we got to play. And I just can't get stuck on 1 week. Now, if things keep happening, we'll keep talking week by week. We'll keep talking about what's going on as it goes. But I'm trying to move on to Cleveland, and I think there's going to be a lot more exciting, positive moments throughout this season. You know, the Ravens are still going to have a very successful season. That Buffalo game wasn't a playoff game. We're not going home again. We're just getting started. So there's a lot of beautiful moments ahead, and I think it gets a little easier as the days go to get removed from the loss. I heard Kyle Van Noy in his press conference talk about that today, saying, you know, sometimes you need 48 hours instead of 24, and this was one of those games where he felt like everyone needed 48 hours. And I kind of felt that a little bit too, man. I was pretty fired up for a couple days. Not that I'm not fired up about some of those lingering patterns that we've been seeing, but also there's a part of me that's just excited for the next game too. And you got to be that way. The players definitely have to be that way. You know, you got to learn, study, try and fix mistakes, and go out there and have a dominant week this week. There's really nothing else you can do. You know, you can't dwell on what happened last week. So as long as these patterns don't continue, you know, and it's going to be tough to tell because, like I said earlier in this episode, the Cleveland Browns offense is not the Bills offense. So are we going to get torched for 400 yards through the air? We better not. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. If we get torched by the Browns and Flacco, we got real problems. And I'll be the first one on here talking about that. But I just don't see that happening. I think we struggle against the top teams, and we're not going to get tested again really there this week. So I'm expecting a great defensive showing. We'll see how we play against the top teams a few weeks from there. We got the Lions on Monday night. We got the Chiefs after that. So the Ravens are going to get tested again very soon, and we'll know. This isn't something that we got to wait till the playoffs to figure out. We're going to play another couple top offenses, especially another top quarterback in Mahomes. We got him coming up in week 4. So this secondary has a lot of opportunity to rewrite the course, have a dominant defensive year, and week 1 won't seem that crazy. But let me know what you guys are thinking about everything. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, It's about to go down. The podcast, the Flock Rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.